Hello everybody, how are you going? Welcome to this video where today we will be looking at the small nuanced differences between Canada and Australia.
Coming at you guys with another little thing I thought was interesting as a Canadian in Australia. So in Canada, and I think North America in general, we call the main course an entree. We call our little snacks before the appetizer.
Though,
but here they call the appetizer entree. I don't know which one makes more sense.
Well, isn't it a French word? And so considering that Canada has Quebec in it, and aka France by kind of proxy, surely they're going to be using the right word for the right thing. But I swear that entree means before. Am I crazy? An entree in modern French table service and much of that of the English-speaking world is a dish served before the main course of the meal, not the main course of the meal, before it. And so yes, outside North America and parts of English-speaking Canada, which doesn't make any sense. Surely if you have so much relative to the rest of the world, so much possible French influence in the same country, you are going to be getting it correct. Because I trust that if it's a French word, the French are probably going to be knowing what it means, so to say. And so you cannot be saying that the main meal is the entree. That doesn't make any sense.
Guys, Australia has ruined me. As a Canadian, I'm so embarrassed to say this, but it is 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
It is 16 degrees Celsius, and I am absolutely freezing. I'm from Toronto.
Yep.
Like 16 degrees Celsius when I lived in Toronto was like you would wear t-shirts and shorts and be like celebrating life.
Yep.
And now I can like barely operate. I'm wearing a fucking North Face jacket.
That'll do it.
Who am I turning into?
Oh,
God.
That is the thing. Even just from the architecture being the buildings and the way that heating isn't just synonymous. So yes, you were in the house and you are feeling cold because the house might be 16 degrees, not 26, not 22, not something more in a realm where the average person can be comfortable. No, you can be in t-shirt and shorts and not be freezing. Let alone the fact that if you are coming from somewhere which is 16 and balmy and then all of a sudden you're going to a place that is 16 and frozen, that means that it's going to be going to a much higher end, maybe 35, maybe 45 and humid, whatever it may be. You're going to be losing that battle-hardened skin where you're not able to regulate your temperature down in those lower realms anymore.
One thing I didn't really realize before I came to Australia that I think is really awesome is how much of focus personal health, fitness, and nutrition really is in Australian culture. Like when I do that boardwalk walk I showed you in the last video, all the time in the mornings, the afternoon, you always see people running up and down, biking, walking, people out with their kids, things like that. Whereas at least in my part of Canada, a lot of time you see the parks are empty, people aren't doing running. It's not really a main part. The gym's a bit big in Canada, it's getting bigger. Right. But over here, you're kind of the odd one out if you're not into running, fitness, or things like that, I'd say, on the broad span of things, at least in this area of Australia. I can't speak for all of it.
Where is he?
But it's really cool. It's kind of nice to see a lot of people really trying to kind of get healthy. And there's still a big going out scene here, and the Aussies love a drink. But it's really nice kind of see you have a mix of both. Bit of health, bit of fun. It's a really nice lifestyle out here, so it's if you're thinking about coming out, you gotta do it. Take it easy, peace.
That is always an interesting take to hear about because it's not the only one that I've ever heard, be it from Canadian or British or even any other internationals. They often say that the Australian lifestyle definitely has a more focus towards health, and I do wonder, he said walk, whatever he said. I do wonder if that's like Bondi to Bronte or something like that, which is going to be in the eastern suburbs, but that's also going to be like a major fitness route. It's like if you went, it's basically an outdoor gym for a lot of people. And so if you're going to the gym and going, wow, look at all these people that are working out, like that just makes sense in that regard. But then if you go maybe even just 5, 10, 20 kilometers away, you are going to be finding a very different focus or lack thereof on fitness, so to say. And so I wonder, is it just a kind of tunnel vision perspective? It's hard to tell because he said, oh, well, from where he is in Canada compared to where he is in Australia. And that could just be different areas. I do wonder.
I've lived in Australia for 4 months now, and I'm going to tell you some really weird and random, like really kind of small culture shocks I've had since moving here. First one is that people here do not recycle. What? It's crazy. Back home we have bins for paper, cardboard, glass, plastic, compost, everything. Whoa, and here it all goes in one bin and straight to the landfill, and it just blows my mind.
One bin! Hey, we'll get to that in a sec, but one bin. Where is she living? That's going to be making all the difference to me. Where is she possibly living that they only have a red bin and only have a garbage bin? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't know anywhere metropolitan, I didn't think anywhere had only one bin. A lot of places do have a red and a yellow, being a garbage and recycling. I don't know many places that have a separate glass, separate cardboard, separate paper, separate compost, and everything else that she listed there. There was a lot of separate bins. You'd be running out of room for most people to be having 6, 7, 8 bins. And I know some countries, let's say Japan's fairly renowned for their recycling ability and just cultural perception of it being just separating everything out, where Australia doesn't have that same kind of thing, and we don't even really have the resources to deal with it a lot of the time, so people do get a bit disheartened when they go, well, what am I meant to be doing with this thing? Because I think if I tracked it, it probably wouldn't have the greatest shelf life, just actually being recycled or not. But to hear that some people don't recycle from the bins aren't there kind of thing, that's surprising. Some people are just animals and they're just disgusting humans that they just throw rubbish away. But to not recycle, or to not have the ability to recycle, that's something I haven't heard before.
Another one is that the water here sucks. Like, I know I'm spoiled because Vancouver has really good tap water, but the tap water in Australia is disgusting. I still use it and I still drink it, but it tastes really gross.
Is she in Perth?
The grocery selection is so limited. Like, you can get everything you want, but there's only like a few types of everything. Whereas like back home, I would walk into the bread aisle and there's like 30 different types of bread. And here I swear there's like 3 different types, and it's just weird.
Yeah, that is weird. And now I just need to be knowing, where are you from? I mean, does it say, since living in Australia, it doesn't say exactly where. Maybe if you're living in Perth, I mean, some people are saying it might be a Queensland thing, and I can't remember what Queensland water tastes like. I know that Perth water is pretty gross. It just tastes like pool water. There is so much chlorine in that thing. It's disgusting. But from all accounts, I've never heard anyone else saying that, let's say, Sydney water is gross. I've heard quite the opposite. Sydney, Melbourne, and I only presume Queensland, Brisbane as well, actually is all right. And so maybe it's just you've grown up with a flavour of water, and then now you don't like the flavour. So it's not that it's gross, it's just that it's different, like home cooking versus someone else's cooking, or I don't know, even just canned water versus bottled water versus carton water. Some people just go, oh, it doesn't taste like this because they're used to plastic bottled water. That kind of thing might be playing into it, but to say it's gross, I don't know. You can still drink it, but everyone else is saying this is some of the best water in the world. And then for her to say that there is a limited grocery section just makes me wonder, is she living in the middle of nowhere? Because if you are living rural, then no, you aren't going to be having the same kind of options. But then that's not a fair comparison as is. If you're going from Vancouver or Toronto out to Parks, well then no, you aren't going to be having the same kind of options. But then still realistically, there's a Woolies out in Parks, and so you are going to be having more than 3 options of bread. Like, there just is. So where are you possibly living?
There's a credit card surcharge on everything you buy in this country. It is mind-blowing because it's 2024. Like, everyone's paying on card. So why is it more expensive for me to pay with my card compared to cash? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Because the birds are fucking annoying. Like, that's all I have to say on that one. The cockatoos and all the other ones are so annoying.
Okay,
and the last one I knew coming here, but Australians shorten every word.
Yep.
And with their accent and the fact that a lot of times I find Australians mumble a little bit, I genuinely cannot understand what people are saying. And I've had so many times where I've had to ask someone to repeat themselves like 6 times, to the point where it's actually just awkward and embarrassing. But like, the combination of everything, I really struggle to understand Australians.
Oh no.
Okay, that's all for now.
Oh no, that sounds like such a hassle, and the fact that the birds are wrong and the bread's wrong and the water's wrong and everything else is wrong, it really sounds like, I don't know, maybe you're just either rage baiting or it's just not for you. It can be either one. Considering everyone else is fine with the birds, they love the kookaburras, they love the magpies, everyone else it's a beautiful kind of serene bird call environment. But just to go, oh, they're so annoying, oh, I can't understand people, oh, they're mumbling, oh, the bread, I don't know about this. It feels like this might be not cultural shocks. That's different. Cultural shock should be positive and negative. This just sounds like a little bit of a rant, and whether that's a positive rant in terms of you actually feel like that or not, I'm dubious.
Okay, I'm going to say a word and you say whatever.
All right.
Okay.
Language.
So,
what's it going to be?
Flip-flops.
The classic. Yep.
Cantaloupe.
Rockmelon? Come on, my God.
Rockmelon.
Oh my God. Elevator.
A lift. Yep.
A lineup.
Q.
Oh.
Red
what?
pepper.
Capsicum.
Adidas.
Adidas.
Yeah.
Fries.
Chips.
Yep.
Candy.
Lollies.
Yep.
Raisin Bran.
Sultana brand.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense. I was thinking Raisin Toast, not Raisin Bran, but no, Sultana brand does make sense. The weirdest one in there was line up. That doesn't make sense to me. Is you were lining up, or you line up in a line, compared to a queue is the line, is like a British queue, a British line. That's what we do say, but you don't say, I guess you can say that you queue. That makes me wonder between all the different adjectives, verbs, and nouns and everything. But still, it's just like, I feel like line up. That threw me. I had no idea where she was going to be going with that one. Kind of like the Cantaloupe and Rockmelon one, where he absolutely got thrown and I did know it. And what other ones can I think of? I mean, there's aubergine and capsicum versus red pepper, eggplant, cilantro. And I'm sure that there are plenty more. And I guess it just all comes from picking which country at the time of British colonization and westernization did we choose it from? Did we choose it from British, English, French, or something else entirely in between?
Guys, in Coogee Beach, Australia, bro, if you don't pay for your parking, they just rip the whole front of your car off, bro.
What is going on there?
They just straight up kamikaze that shit. They just straight up, you gotta pay for your parking in Coogee Beach, Australia, bro.
Absolutely.
Jesus loves you, baby.
You have to be paying for that parking. Otherwise, they just slowly take piece by piece. Every hour that you don't pay your parking, bonnet, roof, window, wheels, tires. I'm surprised they didn't take that first. And it is a free-for-all. You don't get to choose. It's not like, oh, please take this one first. I mean, they might put a piece of chalk on it. It's gone. But no, to be fair, there are a lot of places around Sydney's beaches where you may have to pay, or at least it will be a 2-hour parking limit before you will get a ticket or anything like that. But at the same time, there is plenty of room around the beaches, just in the streets and the surrounding suburbs where it's free. You just have to fight for your life to be able to find one.
This is part 4, exchange Canada versus Australia. Apologies. Someone is away or absent is what we say. They say apologies. The canteen. See, we have cafeterias, but then we also have like a mini one, at least in elementary school, and I always just get chocolate milk on Wednesdays. Canteen, though, is pretty much like a cafeteria, but there's no seating area. This one's so fun to say. The sick bay, like infirmary, or the nurse.
Oh, I don't know what it is about the word infirmary that just doesn't really make sense to me. It sounds like you're fully militarized as a school. Like, that's where an infirmary would be, which I guess is the same thing. It is the sick bay, but just sick bay is more kid friendly, I feel. I mean, it's all just words, but it makes it sound like, oh, I'm not going in for a blown off leg. I just need a band-aid or something for my scraped up knees, then I can go back to playing handball. Whatever it is, it sounds just a little bit too intense. And then the first bit where she said it's apologies, that's like how you would start the entire paragraph that you would be used to explain the absence. I mean, she said they say apologies and we say absence, but that's not the same thing. Like, yes, you were absent, but you don't say apologies just for using that as a word. You say apologies to the teacher, so-and-so will be away due to a dental appointment, or whatever it may be.
Because one time I was like, I'm like, oh, do you need to go to the nurse? And they're like, you need sick bay? 7, 8, 9 would technically be like middle school. We have a different recess. 3 to 6 are all together at recess, but they could go anywhere they'd like. I remember in Canada, we had like this yellow line across part of our school grounds or whatever, and we're like, you can't go past the yellow line. You can't go with the big kids. So like, there are boundaries, but I see like little preps playing with grade 6s all the time.
Yeah, what is going on here? I mean, that's a pretty cool flower that you've drawn, painted, whatever it may be, but the fact that you were just separating kids out, why would you bother doing that? What if if let's say you had an older sibling that is in the year 6 and you're in kindy or whatever it may be? I mean, she said P, which would be K, because it's kindergarten, not prep. Is that what she said? Or whatever it may be. But why are you separating them out? Is it for the fact that you don't want to bowl them over accidentally? That doesn't make any sense to me. Then you have to be having multiple green spaces compared to just one big one. I mean, seriously, how much room or lack thereof do you need to be giving people? Canadian winter. Oh, puppy on cold toes. Oh, shoveling. You got a glove. Yep. Man. What's it gonna be? Oh. Yep. There it is, especially if you're in up north, but there's definitely not going to be any snow practically anywhere. Look at that, Australian winter. Lovely day, but Australian winter. Not cold, not like that. Oh man, just you go from this scene straight back to this scene, and you go from dogs to kangaroos, kind of similar, kind of not. but I know which one I would definitely be taking. I just don't feel like shoveling the driveway every single day. I don't know how people do it. I feel like, from my perspective, I've said it a million times, but I would just need to be installing a heated driveway. But then the roads are frozen anyway, and so I guess you have tires, but then why are you bothering going to be shoveling it? Just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Australian here.
Canadian.
And we're just going to run through some of the things that we discovered are weird and different between our countries. You know, when we talk, we figure out, we just say different things.
And it's been 2 years together. And
2
we
years.
still are learning.
Almost 2.5, actually.
Yeah.
So I said, I had to write it down. I was trying to explain the word dag in Australia.
Right.
So I ended up saying, it's like a bogan.
No, that's just wrong. It's not. A dag could be any person of any status, and it's generally going to be someone that probably is more extroverted because they're less worried about what the perception of them may be. Because if somebody's being a dag or doing something daggy, they're kind of purposely doing something that is generally embarrassing to the normal person, but they're doing it on purpose, so it's kind of self-aware and ironic, and they're kind of fine with it. Like, that's where they're self-indulging in doing something embarrassing, I guess.
It's like a bogan.
But what did she say?
And he's like, look, that's another Australian word, Jordan.
Yeah.
So then I go, okay, it's like a feral.
What?
And then he didn't know. So then we agreed on grub.
Yeah.
No.
I kind of know what
wrong.
you mean.
No.
We also discovered we do I Spy differently.
Yep.
Go to our last video to watch that one.
Yeah.
Random.
How do you do I Spy differently? I didn't even know that there was any other way to be playing I Spy, and I can't think of how you would play it differently. Anyway, maybe that's something I'll have to be checking out. But like I said, just to be digging yourself a hole by landing on feral? What? No, it's not anything like that.
And also attendance. So before school, they read attendance. Before class, whatever, they ask who's there. You say here.
Yeah.
What would you get?
That's the role in Australia. We mark the role, I guess.
Yeah. Which is the same. It's a role. That's a bit of a weird word. Attendance definitely makes more sense. But you go to roll call, let's say, or you mark the roll, and within that, I guess you were checking attendance, but that's not really the vocabulary that is ever going to be used. You were just going to be either here or not here, and you mark the roll, and that's done for the day.
I need someone to tell me why, after 3 years of living abroad, this is the biggest issue that I'm having since getting back home to Australia.
What?
So, in Canada, light switches are so different, and this is something I've never heard of anyone mention, and it's so funny. But I got home the other day, fumbling around for light switches, and they're just so tiny in Australia.
Yep.
They're on the, skirting of the doorways.
Yeah, the door
and
frame.
It's just like a little one-finger switch. Whereas in Canada, I swear, the light switches are like as big as this panel here. You just come in, slap it on, it's easy, they're all in the same spot. Here, you're like fumbling around trying to figure it out. There's so many other things I've noticed as well, just like weird little quirky things that no one really talks about. But why the heck are light switches so different? I don't know. I swear, I think Canada has one up on us here.
I do understand why that'd be such a big thing coming over or coming back from. Obviously, if you're used to it, and especially in your house, it's just muscle memories, flick it on, no worries every single time. But even for accessibility reasons, I'm surprised that they haven't kind of been mandated to be bigger. The only thing that I would think of that it's going to be bigger or smaller into countries is because of building techniques or standards of building, where a lot of houses traditionally in Australia are going to be brick houses and double brick or those kind of things, where running electrical cables through the brick is a little bit more of a pain, where if you are going to be having a wooden framed house in North America, you can run whatever you want anywhere. It's just cavities everywhere in the wall, like you are having with a double brick house, but it's just not as easy just to be pre-running all the conduit and all those kind of things, let alone obviously just the light switches themselves. Then you can just chop a hole in the gyprock instead of having to smash a whole brick apart, all those kind of things. That's the only reason I can think of that it might be so different. And I don't know what it's like in the UK. Obviously, you can kind of import any light switches, and I guess as long as they are up to electrical standards and the voltage differences, then they should be able to be used within the realm of being installed. But at the same time, I don't think the UK has massive kind of rocker switches like North America does. But it is a good point. I do think that for the average person, having a bigger light switch is going to be better. if you are going to be having then like 8 light switches, let's say, and dimmers, like how does North America could do dimmers, I wonder? Because often we just have a little light switch and then a rotary knob, where I think the UK does a pretty similar thing, and you can get like digital versions, but I don't feel like I've ever seen dimmers in a North American house, because it's just such a large butterfly switch that you're just going to have this tiny knob below this huge butterfly switch? I don't know. Like I said, I can only presume that it's down to building standards or general things that are done, but otherwise in a modern house, a lot of Australian houses are going to be metal or timber framed, being termite proof or flame retardant or whatever it may be. And so as people slowly do move away from brick building, unless they're using concrete building, there are going to be the options that you can put in whatever size light switch you want, because it's just a nice big hole in the wall in the gyprock that is very easy for anyone just to be importing any light switch, panel, fan controller, even like digital display, whatever it may be, you can put it all in the wall very, very easily. But to her credit, that is, I think, the first time that I've heard someone mention that. And that's the kind of things that I love, when people just have that perspective change. They have that outside world where they can go, oh, I've lived here and I thought it was normal my whole life. And then I come back and I go, why is that thing different? And if the whole world just was able to build themselves up from using the best bits of everyone, we'd live in an absolute utopia.